I want to help you build mental toughness. And that's because when I look back on my own running career, when I was a collegiate cross-country and track athlete, I was a little bit of a basket case. There were times when I was 100% dialed in. I enjoyed the training and the hard work. I loved it. And there was nothing I felt like I couldn't do. And then there were times where everything felt difficult. I had no consistency. I gave up in workouts and races. And if I only just had someone there to tell me, hey, these are the things that work, and these are the things that are actually going to undermine your mental toughness. I wish I had that guidance early in my running career, and I want to help you with that guidance today. In this video, I want to talk about 3 specific strategies that you can implement in your training to become more mentally tough, build that mental resilience, so all your goals for 2025 are going to be a lot easier to attain. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is that we are going to be relentlessly consistent with our process-oriented approach to training. Now, being process-oriented means you just do the best you can with the resources you have on each and every individual training session that you have. So if you have a certain warm-up at a certain pace, you're going to do the whole warm-up and you're going to do it at the right pace. You're going to do your strides and your drills and your warm-up exercises and all the other great things that your coach programs into your training plan without skipping them. You are going to be super consistent because that is the key. You know, there's often this phrase that discipline will set you free. And that's really what we're talking about right now, is being so disciplined with your approach to training that it becomes almost second nature. And I can tell you from experience, if you can get dialed in and consistent and never miss anything because you're a little tired today or just haven't planned your day right, a lot of those things can be mitigated. You can often get around some of those problems and build up this level of consistency, because it is only through that consistent habit of process-oriented training that you start to feel unstoppable. You start to feel like there is no type of training that you can't do. You can run through the rain. You're going to run no matter what the weather is like. You're going to run no matter how you feel. Of course, if you feel like you're about to get an injury, don't run. This is not the kind of advice, the no pain, no gain, we're going to push through that kind of stuff. No. This is intelligent mental toughness, and it demands a nuanced approach, but a very consistent nuanced approach. I could not make these videos without your support. So first, let me say thank you. And this video is brought to you by our very own Performance Training Journal. I have always been in love with hard copy training journals for a few really good reasons. Number one, when I was a new runner and I started keeping an actual training journal like this, I learned so much more about the sport and myself just by that practice. It really forces you to reflect on your training, to think more deeply about what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And if you are constantly reflecting on your training, praising yourself for what's going right, planning for the future, and then looking back on what has previously worked for you, you are going to really know yourself as a runner, and you're going to start to make wiser decisions about your training. I also created this training journal because I want you to focus on the training metrics that actually matter. The training metrics that help you improve, get better, and progress with your running. We don't have to focus on everything. We just need to focus on what matters. I also took a lot of inspiration from professional runners that I've talked to on the Strength Running podcast. They're adamant by completing a training journal and reflecting on what works for you and actually giving yourself some praise within your journal. You're essentially completing a gratitude journal. You are building up your confidence in your own abilities over time. And when you look back on that journal before a big goal race, you are going to be reading in your own words why you're capable, why you can do this. And I can think of nothing more confidence building than an act like that. So I hope you check out the new Performance Training Journal. It is now available on Amazon. It debuted as the #4 new release in the running category, and I could not be more proud of it. So thank you again for subscribing to the Strength Running YouTube channel, and I hope you enjoy the Performance Training Journal. All right, next, I want you to remember that running is hard. Running isn't easy. We're not playing pickleball. There is a certain level of difficulty when it comes to the sport of running. Running 15 or 20 miles, doing a hard speed workout on the track, a lot of the things that we runners almost take for granted are actually really physically demanding. And if we don't also recognize the mental component to that, the idea that it takes a lot of mental strength to do physically challenging things, then it's going to be really hard for us to accomplish our goals. And sort of like if you're a marathoner and you think the last 10K of the marathon is going to be easy, you're in for a really rude awakening once you cross the 20-mile mark. The same thing is true when it comes to the difficulty of training and recognizing that doing the long runs and the overall volume and the workouts, just the overall grind of training week after week is hard. It's difficult. It's going to be stressful. And I think if we're really honest with ourselves and acknowledge that ahead of time, we're not going to lull ourselves into a state of complacency, of false positivity that, hey, it's going to be easy. Every day is going to be rainbows and butterflies and kittens. Because honestly, let's be honest, you know that training gets hard sometimes. You know that you don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. You want to go to bed early instead of getting your training run in after work. Example after example after example of when you could make the easy choice. I want you to make the hard choice because you know, after all, that everything that we're talking about right now is difficult. Training is hard. And that's okay. Let's acknowledge the difficulty, and that will set us up better to deal with that difficulty when it inevitably comes. Finally, I want you to find runners that kind of scare you a little bit. I want you to find runners that are intimidating, runners that would blow your doors off if you tried to hang with them on a track workout, runners whose goal time in whatever race that you might be training for is substantially better than yours, and you have no hope of ever running with them. I want you to surround yourself with these runners. Not all the time. Of course, you're not going to be able to run workouts with them, but could you do an easy run once a week with a group of runners who might be a little bit better than you? I want you to be exposed to the ways of thinking of these better runners. We're talking about mental toughness here. We're not talking about trying to hang with them on a tempo run. We're talking about learning about how they think about training. And when I look back on my running career, I was always surrounded by people who embarrassed me, who could beat me in races. I was always behind them. I never really had a chance of beating them in any running event possible. But, that was almost a gift because when I look back on my running career, I never would have had any of the successes that I had if I didn't surround myself with those teammates, those guys older than me who knew more about the sport, who had more training experience, and who were just more gifted and talented than I was. I learned a lot from them. And so this doesn't necessarily have to take the form of you joining a running club that's just more advanced and maybe too advanced for you. It could also mean getting a coffee with a faster runner, taking a course, reading a new sports psychology book, or in other words, just surrounding yourself with the thought patterns of more accomplished runners. They're going to be able to teach you things that you don't even know to learn. There's that old saying that you don't know what you don't know. And I guarantee you, those faster runners know a couple things about training, about how they set goals, about how they deal with failure, with disappointment, with bad workouts. Those things happen to all of us. But our success often depends on how we respond to those failures and disappointments, not just not having any. I think it's really easy for us to look at more accomplished runners and think that they have it all, that it's really easy for them, that they don't experience disappointment, failure, lack of motivation, or any of the things that afflict, let's be honest, all of us. All of us deal with those things. So surround yourself with that group of slightly scary runners. You are going to be more like them after a couple months. In other words, you're going to be a little bit more mentally tough. You're going to build the suite of mental skills that are going to help you take your running to the next level. I love talking about mental toughness because it is personally one of my favorite mental skills, because it really is sort of a catch-all term that pulls in elements of confidence, of effective goal setting, of effectively responding to failure, and of course, the classic mental toughness examples that we all know and love, like gritting it out at the end of a race or a workout. But a lot of aspects of mental toughness are things like adhering to an injury treatment program, or being very process-oriented and consistent with your training over the course of years. All these things take a lot of mental toughness, and I want to help you learn all the nuances of mental toughness that we barely scratched the surface on in this video. Later this month, I'm hosting a live mental toughness workshop. You're going to be able to learn about this skill. I'm going to give you a presentation. We're going to have Q&A, but you're also going to get direct access to me for questions, both during the workshop and for several weeks around the workshop, so that we can talk more about your unique issues, any problems that you're having, the training that you're currently experiencing and going through, and how we can better structure that to enhance your mental toughness, to build it directly into your training program so that your upcoming race result is even better. I have set up a waitlist at strengthrunning.com/brain. That's because we need to train our brain just as much as every one of our leg muscles. And so go sign up at strengthrunning.com/brain. I'm going to send you a couple mindset lessons first, and then as soon as our mindset course is finalized, once I have the schedule set and the full list of everything that's going to be included, you are going to be the first to know. So I hope you sign up. I hope we learn more about this amazing mental skill. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to help make your 2025 your fastest yet. So let's do this.